now coming into a comfortable seat, knowing that you can change positions as you like throughout this half an hour practice. Just letting the body be very comfortable and making that intention of bringing awareness into this space before we go on with the rest of our daily activities and responsibilities. And so I want you to take this opportunity to tell your mind that this is not a space for to-do lists. This is not a space to remember all the different things that we have to do. Just to have that clarity of intention. Sometimes we come into meditation and we start to remember all of those things that we usually don't think about, and that's useful. But then it no longer becomes a practice of self-connection, but rather a concentration practice, which is a different thing. So let's, once you've told your mind that we're going to take the space for meditation, allow yourself to close your eyes to direct intention inward. And I don't always explain why we close our eyes. There are multiple reasons why it can be beneficial to close the eyes. Primarily because when we close our eyes and we gaze inside, we are no longer placing attention into the world of forms. So no longer are we seeing what our environment is like, but we turn attention to our internal environment. And so let that gaze be very gentle, very kind internal gaze. And despite that you are looking into darkness and there's no longer a world of forms, let that gaze look inside. Let your eyes rest gently. And begin recognizing what arises when we look inside. It may be a sense of calmness, an ability to breathe deeper. It's simply a sense of being present. Letting each in-breath open space, lengthen the spine, and the out-breath begin to dive you deeper. And notice the difference between an in-breath, how expansive it is, how it lengthens your spine, how it opens space, and the out-breath, and how it softens your muscles, how it creates a sense of letting go. And very mindfully inhabit these two. So let the in-breath become very, very mindful, and the out-breath very, very mindful. There's no need to make it something other than what is here. There is no moment more auspicious than this, or a hierarchy of states of being. So cherishing the simplicity of being alive, being able to mindfully breathe. Cherish the simplicity of connecting with the simplicity and the miracle of needing for it to be anything different, not thinking that it would be greater if the breath was quicker or with some technique, simply letting the breath guide you into a state of equanimity. And if you notice that the mind drifts off, bring it gently back to the awareness of the breath. The practice of anapanasati, witnessing the breath, following the breath, not changing or manipulating the breath, just following the breath, gentle awareness. And from this inner space where there is no need to change or control or tweak an internal state, I want you to recognize what is alive right now. Recognize the different sensations, both in the body and also what is in our minds. What are the contents of our minds? So use that capacity that we have for mindful, clear seeing, that analytical part of our minds. We can bring it into the meditation and have it active by recognizing what is happening. Is there something that you feel concern about? Maybe there's something that you're deeply grateful for. It doesn't matter the quality of energy of what is happening right now, but rather acknowledging, like, okay, this is present right now. It can be a discomfort, whether physical or emotional, or it can also be a sense of relief. See where awareness wants to invest attention and recognize the particularities of that. So choose something that you can recognize, that it's easy to recognize. And once we've recognized it and chosen it, there's one primary poignant object in awareness. And you can nod with your head yes if you've recognized it, if you have found this one thing that you can recognize. You can nod with your head so that I know that you found it. Good. And now begin to allow it to be. Allow is a very powerful state of being. We are not fighting against it or ignoring it. Whether it might be something that we perceive as positive or negative, when we allow it, it begins to settle in. The reality of it begins to settle in. When we allow, we begin to open our hearts to the reality of life, to the reality of the events that are unfolding. And the way that we can allow is simply to continue to breathe into it rather than resist. This radical acceptance for this moment, just right now. Can you allow it to be? And the answer might be no, that you are not ready for it. And so you can allow that you are not ready for it. You can allow that you can't allow. And we go into this deeper state of presence, deeper state of open-heartedness where everything is welcomed, even those feelings that we can't welcome. And let yourself explore this quality of allowing. What happens when we stop fighting? And even if we're fighting, what happens when we allow the fight to continue? So you see there's an ever deepening possibility for allowing. It's not this perfect state. There's an ever deepening possibility of opening our hearts to what is. Even if that may mean that what is that we can't accept it. So explore that open field of awareness that allows for whatever is here. Resting in that allowing, in the embrace of acceptance, in the relief of not having to look elsewhere. Allow. Because when we allow, we are letting the guard up. There's nothing to defend anymore. There's this trust that we can have when we allow that things can begin to soften, to settle. So maybe even you feel like your muscles in the body can relax a little bit more. And if there's tension in the jaw, when we allow, instead of having to force a release, it can just gently be invited to soften. And from this place, we can begin to investigate what is truly going on. And this investigation doesn't require necessarily the analytical mind. It's more of an exploration of what we just did. So investigate, first and foremost, how does it feel when we allow? When we allow this that we recognize, investigate. So we are cultivating this capacity for non-judgmental presence. We investigate what is going on from witness consciousness in that wisdom body. Maybe you begin to see layers of that particular recognition. The investigation can also be called an inquiry. So we begin to ask whatever questions need to be asked and not expecting a definite answer. Inquiring into the nature of these events. With tenderness, with love, with compassion. We can even ask questions like the ones we asked yesterday. Like, what am I saying no to? What do I need in order to heal? What brings me joy? And try not to go into thought, into creating schedules or creating frameworks for it to be something to do. Let it reveal itself right now in your heart, in this moment. It's not far away. Right here, right now. What do you need? What wants to be let go of? Nothing dramatic. There's no fireworks. But there's peace and clarity in being in our hearts. And there might be very definite answers to these questions. But even just the question itself guides you deeper into your heart. Live the questions. And use this moment now with whatever you are finding to nourish, to nurture this space. So before we were investigating, asking questions. Now we can nurture, like a mother that comes to attend to the needs of a child with loving compassion, with tenderness, with kindness. Or like we tend to a garden that we are intending to grow food in, and it needs peculiar conditions. And so we come to it with all this love and awe and fascination. Or like we care for my skin, or like we care for this attitude of total love and compassion that can hold these discoveries of the heart with total love, no judgment, no need for it to be different. Embrace whatever you are finding, this attitude of, my dear, how can I help you? What do you need? Nurture. And I will read to you the words of Rilke, Rainer Maria, a poem that speaks about this capacity to inquire and give love. Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. So be patient towards all that we cannot understand, but that is there present. Maybe we don't have the answers to yet. And love the questions themselves. This is what he's saying. Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. Love the questions themselves. Love the inquiry. So this that we just did, this entire process is called rain. I will talk more about it later in our evening session. So rain stands for, the R is to recognize. So we recognized what was present. And then we allowed it to be, that's the A. Accepting it, allowing it. And the I stands for inquiry or investigate. Exploring, asking the questions. And the N for nurture. So sometimes we might get too much in our minds and we forget that heart capacity. And they really don't work separately. The heart mind is one entity, is one agency within our being. Sometimes we separate it. So the nurture brings the heart into the picture. And so what I want to invite you to do now is after the rain. So when it rains, everything is moist and everything is alive. And so use this opportunity to expand with this green, green result of the rain. Let yourself be bathed in the space after the rain. Being present to this breath, and then the next, and the next. And bring both of your hands towards your heart. You can place your palms facing each other. And press your palms towards each other. So the fingertips are pressing, the center of the palms are pressing. And let that pressing of the hands open a little bit more space in your chest. So you can press onto the hands and let the chest open. Let the scapulas draw in towards each other. Soften the shoulders. And bring your chin towards your chest, like as if you are bowing to yourself in this capacity to explore the inner world and nurture. And on the next in-breath, bring your hands up towards the sky. You can separate your hands now, like as if you wanted to touch the ceiling. Really high up, high. Reach up with your fingertips. And then let your fingers run down through the space as if they were running through a sea of honey. So they're gliding down through a sea of honey. Feeling the sweetness of this morning. And when you're ready to take another deep breath in, you can reach up with your hands through a space of honey. This honey auric field that we have filled with sweetness. And then you let your arms glide down. So in a way, this is making us aware of the energy body and allowing us to cultivate the sweetness of being. And we can end here for right now. I hope you have a wonderful day filled with this capacity to recognize what is truly going on and learning to nourish it like an adult that can care and bring compassion and bring maybe not an immediate answer, although sometimes it might be necessary, but bring patience into the picture. You can reach out if you have any questions. You can always write to me, and I'll see you this evening. Namaste.
Qué linda, Prema, muchas gracias. Qué rico.
Muchísimas gracias, de verdad.